happened today. I was sitting on Bloor Street, which is a main street in Toronto, and this kid came up. He's about 20, and he said, I don't want to disturb you, but I watched your biblical lectures a few years ago, and they really helped me. And he was going to walk on, and I said, stop. I said, what's your name? And I always ask people, because as soon as you get their name, then you're in a conversation. They know that you want to talk. It's an open invitation. And I do want to talk because I want to find out, okay, I helped this kid, apparently. How? Exactly. What worked? Because then maybe I can do it again, right? So he said, well, it made me rethink my religious belief, and now I'm going to church. And I said, okay, well, like, are you going every week? He said, I know you don't go to church, or you're not a practicing Christian. And I said, do you go to church? He said, yes, but it's online right now. I said, well, what do you do there? And he goes to the services, and then he has this group of 20-year-olds, and they talk to each other and try to orient themselves properly. And I thought, well, that seems good. That seems like a good thing. So, and he said that, I said, well, what else did you learn that was helpful? And he's going to law school. And he said, well, I learned to stop comparing myself to other people and berating myself for what I didn't have, and I learned how to reward myself for making incremental improvements. And I thought, so he's comparing himself to who he was yesterday, which is dead on. It's like, there's no envy in that, man, and that's a game you can win. And it's an improving game, and anyone can play it. So I thought, that's great, because now you know how to reward yourself. And so he's in law school in his second year. He said, he's going to be a corporate lawyer in New York, so he has this massive opportunity, because that's an immense opportunity. And he's trying to figure out how to integrate his legal education in the corporate world with his profound emergent morality. And I think, yes, great, man. You hear a story like that, it's like, well, that keeps you going no matter what. Like, more of that, right? More of that. You can't get too much of that. And then I can tell people, you want to look for something meaningful. You're not going to find anything more meaningful, more deeper than trying to orient yourself towards the highest good, trying to tell the truth, and trying to further other people's development. It's so rewarding that it's almost too much. That's the problem with it. It's too much. And part of, I think, why I've been sick is because of that, too much. Partly from observing how much lack of encouragement there has been for people, and how many people are starving spiritually and psychologically because of that. I saw that on such a massive scale, but also to just see the consequences of having that addressed to the limited degree I've been able to address it. Like, it happens all the time. And I had this guy. It's so strange. This guy walked by this guy the other day on Bloor again, and he was kind of a street-looking guy, kind of rough, and bent over about 45, 50, but looking older than that. And he had a mask on, and he wasn't looking so good. And he took his mask off, and he came over to me. I had no idea what he said. I love you. I thought, Jesus. My friend was walking with me. The guy told me about it. We walked away. I said, what do you make of that? And he just shook his head. He said, you sure have a lot of people, men coming up on the street saying that they love you. It's like, it's a hell of a thing, Russell. And God, how can you want something more? How can you possibly ask for something more than that? How can anything that was narrowly selfish, let's say, in the sort of grasping capitalist mode, to use the cynical left-wing caricature, and it's not like there's never truth in that, but we're all grasping, that's for sure. How could anything that could possibly produce, even in theory, compete with that? They're not even in the same universe.
I understand what you're saying. And I'm thinking about it, it's because you have this very particular background in clinical psychology and academia as a teacher, and the edification and raising up and teaching of people is plainly so important to you, and it seems now more than ever. And I feel how open-hearted you are, and perhaps have always been. And I wonder if there's something, This the question continually asked of you of why do you feel like you resonate with males? It seems to me, I wonder, is there a wound in your maleness or a wound in your adolescence? Is there something in you that is open, do you feel, that has made this connection possible? Because it can't simply be the translation of these theories.
I think some of it's actually the doing of my father. I think I had a good father, and he encouraged me. Like, my dad instilled within me his faith in me. Fundamentally, like, we had our set tos, you know. It's not like our relationship was without conflict, but I knew I had something that none of my friends had, or virtually none of them, which is I knew that my dad fundamentally believed in me, right? Fundamentally, regardless of anything. And what he thought that fundamentally, I suppose, that it was a good thing that I was around, or that I was a good thing, something like that. But it was deep, and that gave me a sort of confidence, I suppose, or faith. Both of those, I suppose. He encouraged me. I had that encouragement, and I think, so you asked me a specific question. I'm encouraging young men. Why? Because I think, I believe this. It's like, God only knows what you could do. And we need it. Like you're a good example. I mean, look at you, Christ, you're unbelievably creative. You're so smart. You jump from idea to idea. You're very charismatic, you know, and you have this immense talent, and that led you into wastelands of all sorts, you know, because you didn't know how to control it, or, you know, you weren't oriented properly. God only knows why. But you're trying to gather that all up and to figure out what to do with it. It's like, great. Who knows what piece of the puzzle you would contribute if you got your act together and contributed everything you can. And I mean, it's clear that you're trying to figure that out. Otherwise, people wouldn't be responding to you. So many of the comments were, you know, my opinion of Russell was, you know, neutral or negative or whatever. But I watched this, and like, he's really doing his best, obviously. And that really impressed me. So it's so nice to see that kind of judgment. Hey, it's like, well, I can see that he's trying, and so now I'm on his side. And so it looks like you can kind of trust people to respond positively to that. And that's so nice, isn't it? That's actually the case.
That is.
You can let yourself out.
Yes. I can begin to, I get the idea that sort of, again, looking at it as best as I can interpret from a Jungian perspective, that some of these unformed primordial forces that found expression in some ways that were unhealthy for me and probably for others, are now aligning. They're becoming sort of, I don't want to use the word colonized because it has so many negative connotations, but activated towards positivity. Integrated.
Yeah, because you don't want to suppress them or repress them. You want to bring them on board.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, and that's the other thing I'm telling young men too, and because I certainly believe this to be true. All that aggression, that capacity for aggression and violence, that physical strength, that dangerousness, those are unbelievably useful once integrated, admirable. You know, I talked to Jocko Willink the other day, and the guy's a monster. You know, he's 2 feet thick, and he's a warrior from the age of 3. That's the kind of person he is. He goes to Naval SEAL training, and what do they teach him? You have your friend's back. You subordinate all that antisocial aggressiveness, that dominant striving, that power, that physical strength, that desire to destroy even, all of that. You take that, you control it, you serve other people with it. You have their back. And he says very straightforwardly, you know, that he's an effective leader. To the degree that he's been an effective leader, it's because he takes care of the people around him. And that's it. So he integrates all that, what could otherwise be, you know, catastrophic, criminal, or genocidal horror. He's trying to integrate that into whoever it is that he can be, if he's everything that he can be. You know, he told me about he got a literature degree after he had gone through the Naval SEALs, and I just kind of skipped over that. I don't really know why, and he called my attention to it, and then we had a 20-minute conversation about the vital importance of literacy. And it was so interesting that this character, who's got all these other attributes, would then say, yeah, but, I got literate. I became literate. I learned to communicate, and that multiplied my ability manifold. And so don't hesitate to develop he didn't say it in these terms, but your logos. It's like, absolutely, absolutely. And men are turning to him, young men in particular, because he's such a good role model. He's written these books for little kids about how they can, fortify themselves. And it's not no competitive games. Let's raise little boys like little girls. It's not that at all. It's like, stand up, man. Man up. Monster up. Get it together. And then go past that, right? And subordinate that to truth and love and the ability to communicate. Then you're something.
Excellent.
But that way the vices can be virtues, right? You don't have to say, well, we'll just eradicate aggression. Well, yeah, sure. It's like cutting off your arm. You're going to get rid of that motive force? That'd be like getting rid of sexuality. You don't want to get rid of that. You want to integrate it.
Yeah.